The greatest enemy in our sales world is fear. And let's face it, things are freaking weird now. Fear is rampant, and the number one thing that hurts sales is fear. Sales is about connection, meeting the needs of our customers, and listening in. And fear erodes sales. So today, I'm going to talk with the amazing, insightful, and inspiring Ryan McRae. He's a sales enablement trainer, a manager, a keynote speaker, someone that I've known for a very long time, and someone that I am humbled to learn with today. What's up, Ryan? How are you?
I'm great, Phil. How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's great to see you, buddy. It's great to see you. It's really been too long.
Too long.
Yeah, man. So let's cut right to it, dude. So fear. What the heck, man? Why is this such a big deal?
Well, when you're in sales and you're trying to make a sale, if you are in a fear mode, if you're like, I need to make this sale to keep my job, I need to make this sale to impress my boss, and you are driven by fear, what it does is that erodes rapport. It's hard to connect to someone when you're afraid. It's hard to really convince someone that what you're offering is going to solve their problem if you're acting out of fear. This is how I explain it in my classes, that when you're driving and you're with your friends or maybe your significant other and the radio's on and you're enjoying the drive, if suddenly you realize that you're lost, you've missed the exit, not just missed it, but miles out, usually what happens is people's first response is they turn off the radio. They tell whoever's talking just to take a minute so they can focus. And what that is it's the amygdala part of your brain. It's that part of your brain that says, oh no, the lion's going to eat me. And so everything is going towards reducing that fear and getting out of danger's way. And when you're in that car, you can't connect, you can't listen, you can't learn until that fear goes away. It's just how our brain works. Or it's like in Star Trek, all the energy has to go towards shields because we're under attack. Nothing else can get done. And what I find is if we can reduce fear in sales reps, whatever they're selling, they tend to succeed much faster because they're not worried about the lion eating them. They're sitting in a confident place, and the person on the other end of that phone or in the meeting, the classroom, the boardroom, whatever it is, they feel reassured. Because we have that sense, right, Phil? Like if someone's afraid and they're not really into it, we can kind of sniff out that desperation that they have, and we tend to back away from it. So that's why we need to do whatever we can as sales managers right now to reduce fear, because it's on the news 24/7 right now. That's all it's getting chucked to us with our current, with what's going on with COVID and all of that.
Yeah. Wow. So 2 minutes in, you give me a Star Trek reference and you talk about it as it relates to fear, which I think is fascinating, right? We do need all systems go towards the common goal and training, right? That's learning. And when we're on the phone, it's about connecting with our customers. It's not about remembering the script, but that is absolutely why we do training, right? The goal is to get past memorization and to get into ingranation, right? It's got to be ingrained. It's got to be part of who we are, because training and coaching have to go hand in hand. So talk to me about some of the tactics and the techniques, Ryan, as a sales trainer that you use to help break down that fear.
One of the tactics I would use every start of every morning or every Monday morning, we would just have a moment of encouragement where we were talking about, we'd call them Monday Delights. Whether it was a trinket they had, it was something cheesy like, we'd send balloons out to everyone and say, hey, we want you to blow up your sales today. We would give them dice and say, hey, thanks for taking a chance on us. Oh, so cheesy. And people groaned when they got them, but I always saw my reps had them on their desk. They would hold them as they made calls. And it was a physical reminder like, hey, we are in it with you right now. The second thing I would say is if you're a trainer, if you're a sales manager, try to encourage people to stay off the news a bit, because we can gorge on it. Right now, the news, there's so much to it. There's so much information going on about what's going on. And I'm not saying completely cut yourself off and not be informed. But, if you don't live in Kansas, you don't need to know how COVID is happening in Kansas right now. Like, reduce what you're intaking, because what you intake, it tends to just sweat out of us. So you're afraid, if you're on your lunch break and you're just reading about all the terrible things that are happening, when you go into that 1:30 call, there's going to be some fear in there. There's some trepidation. And that's not what we want to deliver to our clients and our potential customers. Another tactic is, and I know it's hard right now, but it's helping me, is I have to get out of my house. I have to get out. Phil, I have to get out. And it could be something very small. I've got a coffee place down the road that just does, they'll do pickup, and I order on my little phone. Boom, coffee's there. I listen to a podcast. It's not about news. It's not about my job, just something fun. And I just kind of detach from the office. Because, Phil, what we're finding is that, that social lubricant that happens when you're in the office and you're like, hey, Jim, how was your weekend? And, hey, how are the kids doing? All of that, we've lost that. And so what that always served us is just to give us a little boost of energy, a little, hey, this is what's going on. You feel part of a team. And now that we're separated, we don't have that as much to refill. So what we have to do is we have to find it in other places. A couple friends that I know work for a company. Every day they have 2 15-minute coffee breaks scheduled, and they just team up with one other person, and they just sit and have coffee, and they don't talk about work. It's for about 15 minutes just to give them that connection that we're starting to lose as that we're away from the office. We don't hear about people's day-to-day. And then the joy of our job starts to diminish. And Phil, I'm not going to put you on blast, but you and I are extroverts. We get energy from other people. We can work a crowd, Phil. We can work a crowd. We love it. A group of new people. That's our drug of choice. And so what I tell people is you got to find that in other places. You got to connect, whatever it is. I see more conversations happening on LinkedIn. I see, these connections are starting to rise up. And I think that needs to be a big part of defeating fear in our day so we can really deliver our best when it comes to sales.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example, right? The extroverts in the room are like, so how do I get more? And I'll tell you, one of the easiest ways, you mentioned getting out of the house, just smile and wave at people. Just smile and wave. It's really funny. People smile and wave back. And it gives me a little rush when I'm on my morning walk. I do that. And I've found, because at first I didn't, right? I keep my head down, and then I'm like, dude, this just sucks. So I do that. That works for extroverts. But your point about introverts that is helpful is helping people go one-on-one. I think that's really great, right? Giving them permission. And you might even want to consider theming that around non-work things, and then occasionally maybe even working in that work challenge of, hey, here's what's happening. How would you deal with this? How would you ruminate on this, right? Spend 15 minutes and maybe you report back, or maybe it is about getting to know, right? Maybe you team up you mentor them, right? You have the younger and the more the younger, like in tenure, not in age, right? With the more seasoned, more senior person, and you have them pair up so they can talk about things. And we've done that on some of our teams as well. So I think that's really, really strong. I love your celebration suggestion. That's really important. We have to do more of that now more than ever. Shorter meetings are good. And then reducing our news intake. Oh, that's so important. So important. And in overcoming fear, because fear sucks, man. But absolutely, if we watch a bunch of afraid people, we're going to have some fear. So we need to stay away from that. We need to stay away from that which we fear, at least during the workday, because that doesn't serve us at all.
Right.
Right. So how do we, so we're training these folks, right? We're lowering the fear. We're making it acceptable, a safe space, if you will, for them to do this. And as leaders, you gave some good suggestions there. But what about these folks, Ryan, that say, I don't have any fear, man. I'm not afraid of anything. What about them?
Great. I would say, well done. And so I would say their role is to encourage the people who are struggling a bit. They need to be the cheerleaders, the encouragers. I have one colleague who works at a company. His sales manager has a stack of postcards. It's going to sound crazy, Phil. And he sends them postcards in the mail. in the mail, Phil. He sends them postcards.
No way.
He writes their wins for the week, and then they get it. And, people put them on their boards. People have sent postcards to each other because we have a lot of remote teams now. So it's like, hey, I got a postcard from Pennsylvania. I got a postcard from Austin. And I would say if you've got people who are at no fear right now, they need to be the encouragers, the people clapping their hands, leading the icebreakers in the morning, and being that person who shoots out the meme on Slack once in a while that's HR appropriate, just so you know. And I think that's a key, that sales managers need to find those people who are more confident. And those people who are more confident, they need to be the people who are maybe writing the copy, the sales copy, maybe showing off sales letters they're writing if they're not operating in that sales mode. I'm military adjacent. You are in the military. I don't have a ton of fear when it comes to this. By the way, I like seclusion. Even though I'm an extrovert, I kind of like having my own little home base right here. So at my team at Groupon, where I'm the onboarding trainer, I'm the guy who's encouraging, got the joke. Make sure you weaponize those people and really focus their encouragement on the people who are struggling.
Yeah. I think that's really good, right? It doesn't just have to be the leader that is the encourager. It could be someone else on your team. In fact, I would argue that in many cases, it's going to be way more effective to have one of the peers because, shiny, happy leaders are shiny, happy leaders, right? Hey, everything's good, Pollyanna. No, that's not necessarily always the case. I mean, it's great to let the team do that. And I can tell you that it's interesting to me to see who comes out of the woodwork to be that sharing person, to be that fearless person. It's often not the people that you expect, but it's up to the leader to make it safe. And it's up to a trainer, right? As sales trainers, it's important that we model that behavior, that we help them see that, and that we then celebrate when people do that. We offer that encouragement as well. Is that what you're seeing as well, Ryan?
Yeah. And offer that encouragement as well. And also, that manager could just do a little check-in, send a little 1 through 10. Hey, how's your fear level doing right now? And they can just get, keep it anonymous, and then they can see like, hey, how's my team doing? What do we need to do? How do we need to flex? And because we don't have that in-person temperature check right now where I can see that Bill is just struggling, because on a Zoom call, I can look like I've got it all together. But I think that managers needs to dig a little bit deeper. And the other thing that struggles with extroverts and introverts are these Zoom meetings that just seem to be happening all the time. I've done them. You've done them. We've all done them. One of the problems with that is there's only one person talking and everybody else has to listen. Whereas if we're mingling, if we're having a breakout session, you can have multiple conversations and kind of overhear what people are saying and dip in. You can't. It's one and then surrounded by many people. So the introverts are like, I don't want everybody to listen to me. And the extroverts are like, this is great. I'm going to do this even more often than I would. And this imbalance happens. Hidden people get more hidden, and the extroverts are like, this is great. So that's just something to watch for in that meeting culture that's new and growing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And somebody commented that empathy is a vital attribute of our leaders today. And that's super true. I would argue all the time, but especially now. We've got so much going around us, right? I mean, if we look behind, could have a pet, could have a senior parent that could be spending time with us, could be kids, could be a spouse. Everybody's working from home now. This work from home is no longer optional for most of us. So making it safe, reducing that fear, and being empathetic to the fact that maybe there is some is super important as a leader and as a sales professional, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Empathy, really, it's the bond between two people on that empathy. If I think that my manager doesn't care about the situation I'm in, we're in a lot of trouble, and it's hard for that person to perform. And also, like when we are working at home, we're inheriting all the home issues. So I have done interviews. I've interviewed where I can hear the dogs in the background. And before, people be like, oh, I can't believe it. They have dogs barking. And we think, well, that's what we're in right now. It's like that old clip of the British gentleman giving a report, and then his daughter comes in and she's in the yellow and she just kind of trucks in. That's where we're at. And we need to smile and kind of flex when it comes to that sort of stuff to show that empathy. Like, hey, I get it. We can't always control our home environment. Of course, the UPS guy is going to knock on the door the minute you start an important phone call. Of course, all the appliances are going to break. Of course, your coffee maker dies. Of course, it's because we're in this environment all the time, and we just need to have some empathy when it comes to, hey, we're in this together. I totally get it. The dog barking, totally get it. Like we're gonna make it. We're gonna get through this. It's not always gonna be like this, and I think sometimes we kind of like, this is it forever. And I really don't think it is. I think we're going to shift to a ton more remote work. But I think, it's not always going to be, I'm remote 24/7 forever, unless that's how your job's been designed.
Yeah.
But that empathy, key. And there's just different ways to express that, whether it's just, hey, just checking in. Hey, I just want to see how you're doing. Hey, I sent you this. Hey, I thought you would like this. I know you're into gardening right now since we're all at home. And here, I got this for you. Things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Chris Fire says you do need to check on certain people more, right? Because there's no longer a web portal, right? There's nothing that I can see. I can't look in your office and say, oh, it looks like Ryan's good. Or he's pretty stressed out, right? Yeah. So that's really interesting. I think that's a really good point, Chris. And empathy is interesting now, right? Some of us want over communication, someone under. So it's really important if you're a leader to make sure that you individualize, not just personalize, not just say Ryan, but individualize what does Ryan need before you deliver what you're planning to deliver. So super important about that. Good points, Chris. So with that, Ryan, let's flip this over, right? We're talking about sales. So let's move to customers, right? Because I think one of the biggest challenges that we have as sales professionals is as sales trainers helping our sales teams better deal with customers' fear, because it is stalling them, right? We're stuck right here. And the fear of either making the wrong choice or making any choice is really big. So Ryan, how do you suggest that we help our sales reps do a better job of overcoming and dealing with and reducing their customers' fears?
What I have found successful when people are trying to overcome their customers' fear in this COVID environment, one, your reps, whoever they are, have to be very skilled at explaining ROI, that return on investment, because the resources that companies have available right now to risk something, to try something new, whether they want to try a new shipping company, a new set of envelopes, whatever it is, they need to know the ROI, because everyone's risk tolerance is very low right now, because everything is risky. Going to the grocery store is risky. Riding public transportation is risky. Visiting loved ones is risky. I had a friend of mine, he had needed emergency dental surgery, and he's like, I'm more worried about, that's risky to me. It's even more risky. So your customers are evaluating risk all the time now. Return on investment, being fluent in that, is able to combat that at a much stronger level. They need to be fluent in the physical hard cost of it. How much does cost? They also need to be fluent in how much time whatever you are selling saves. Make sure that you can explain that ROI and how it impacts that customer, and go from there. Recently, a company, DocuSign, worked with a college out in Texas. They saved them $2.1 million on simple hard costs when it came to sending out this brochure, sending out this application, photocopying this application, whatever it was. But it's a brilliant ROI to show what we can now do with that money that's saved. If sales reps know if a company has a certain initiative they're trying to do, or a charitable service they're offering, whatever it is, that ROI can always be moved towards whatever they're moving forward on. The other one is turn up your rapport dial. Most of us are remote, and I need people to turn up their rapport dial. One of the best ways, I know a couple reps, they just describe how their day is, because we don't get to hear now how everybody's day is. But I'm like, oh yeah, I live in a garden apartment, and when dogs walk by, they usually, bark, and it's usually the smaller dog that's the aggressor in that fight. So sometimes I just have some barking dogs go across my window. There's not much I can do about it. So if you hear that, that's what's going on. The customer laughs because we're all in this together. It's all weird right now. We have a bit of a chuckle, and there's a connection there because I'm sure that customer is dealing with something at home. Maybe it's a newborn. Maybe it's a weird cat. Whatever it is, that customer connects. And I need reps to turn up and slow down their sales process because we just want to connect with that person on the phone. If a customer just thinks you're in it for the sale and can sense that, they're out. I guarantee that. And I've seen it. I've heard the phone calls. Slow down. Slow down. If you feel yourself speeding up, that is fear taking you over. That customer is going to sense that, and they're going to be talking to someone fearful. We tend to catch the emotions that people have in front of us at times. They're going to back out. Calm, be very calm, slow down, turn up that rapport dial, and you're going to see much more success. The other part I would say is just over communicate. Checking in, how are things going? Because silence right now and not hearing from anybody is a cancer when it comes to sales right now. People do not want to be ghosted. They want to be able to get a hold of your customer service quickly. They want their answer. Make sure you are on that, because silence, they'll start to be afraid. They'll back out and you'll lose that sale. That would be sort of my points on how do you quell that customer's fear.
Yeah, I like your point on over communication. I think that's important, though. I wouldn't use the words "I'm following up" or "checking in," but that's really what we're doing, right? We want to, or touch base. Those are three words that salespeople, that's just anathema for them. So what I would say is, you're making sure, you're ensuring that everything is still squared away, right? You're confirming what you discussed, and that's where the lead times have to be shorter now. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of deals that are happening. Monday the deal opens. Tuesday we're getting a qual meeting. By Wednesday we're drawing up the proposal, and by Friday or the following Monday we're seeing deals close. And it's important that we have that continuous connection, because if you've said you're going to deliver ROI, the challenge is your customer sometimes believes that it's going to go away. Right. If you don't move with some quickness. So it's important that you do that. And that's where I love your suggestion to over communicate, Ryan. I think that's really important. And turning up the rapport dial, of course, and being real, right? That's where we can share empathy with our customers as well, very easily, by just being human and sharing what's there. So really, really solid stuff, man. Really solid stuff. So this is an interesting time to hire new people. Let's be really clear. Some organizations are loving the fact that they can downsize, right? Yep. I mean, it's just great because they might have had some poor performers before, and this is an opportunity for them to let some folks go, and it's okay, right? Because we can say we're doing this for cost savings. But what about those organizations that are hiring? I know that we've hired some folks, and it's been fun to onboard these folks because they've never drank the Kool-Aid yet. They haven't been in the office yet. They haven't felt the culture. So how do we onboard remotely more effectively, Ryan?
I've been an onboarding trainer for about 6 years. I've worked with companies such as Apple, and I'm currently with Groupon. Onboarding is about two things: culture, results. This is who we are. This is what we do. The results we create. That's it. And I've got some onboarding trainers I could go toe to toe with, but I boil it down to culture, results. Culture. Most people experience that culture when they come in, they see things on the wall, maybe they get some swag, whatever it is. They're in the building. They're kind of a part of the culture. They have now a badge. They now have a shirt. They now have a desk. So they feel a part of it. But now we're remote. So what I've seen successful companies do is when they have a new person, they have, a package arrives, and inside is a sweatshirt, a little bit of swag, a welcome card, whatever that is. And you might think, I got to put packages together? You got to be kidding me right now. But when they start to feel a part of the culture, they feel a part of the team, their productivity goes up, and they feel included. It's like getting a jersey. It's like getting the baseball hat. If you play Dungeons & Dragons, it's like getting the robe. Just kidding. But you need to get them injected into the culture as quickly as possible, because culture drives results. When you have someone who is into the culture, and it could be, hey, they get that swag, they're meeting these certain people, they get a shout out on the blog, you do a quick Vimeo or YouTube introduction, or LinkedIn, like, hey, we just want to introduce such and such. We want to welcome them to the team. Here's what we know about them. Fact number 1, fact number 2, fact number 3, and you'll get them included. You want them to enjoy their job. People enjoy their job when they feel included. There's a lot of things you can do. Maybe I mentioned postcard before. Everybody on the team sends them a postcard. They get them in the mail, kind of staggered out. The second thing is results. You want to train them on what they're expected to do, and now really give a timeline. Maybe you give like a 14, 30, 60, 90-day timeline of what's expected of them for the benchmark, so they can see what's coming down the road. I would never invite someone on a road trip and be like, hey, hop in the car. Where are we going? You'll find out, but we're going to be on the road for 3 weeks. Not getting in the car. Not happening. I want to know what's expected of me, where are we going, what are we doing, and go from there. Does it have to be hour by hour? No, my onboarding training program is, but day to day, and having them gain those skills and practice those skills so they can perform when they're out in the field after that onboarding. It's about culture, getting them included. It's about results, explaining, teaching, and training them what they need to do and execute. Those would be the main things we want to focus on. Awesome.
Love those things, Ryan. Lots of powerful stuff that you've shared today. Really appreciate it. You've some folks have some folks say that you've won the instant credit with the D&D crew, and some say they're not sure if you're alignment yet.
Just to talk about that, I get a lot of looks in the street whenever I do onboarding or I go to a conference. I'll get people whispering. They look on their phones. And so if people joining it right now, just so people know, I was the Dungeons & Dragons world champion in 1991. I was on a team of 8. I get asked about it all the time. So and the alignment, I am a neutral good. I am a neutral good fellow. So to answer your friend's questions, but yeah, I do a little newsletter on Dungeons & Dragons, the whole thing. So yeah, many books you will see in the background on gaming and nerdery. But I digress.
Cool. No, that's cool. So, all right, Ryan. So last question here, buddy. So what else should people be thinking about when it comes to fear, right? If we're not in sales and we've overcome the fear of selling, we've overcome the fear of rejection, we've helped our customers overcome fear. But what about just our own fear of what the heck is going on, man? How do we better handle that? And how do we make sure that happens?
Sure. When we talk about fear, the thing that fear erodes, one of the things is growth. We do not grow when we're afraid. So I always try to measure how afraid I am around how afraid am I at learning new things right now. Maybe it's getting involved in LinkedIn learning. Maybe it's reading a book, whatever it is. If I feel like I'm not ready for that, that means I'm gorging on a lot of fear. And small ways to attack that is connect with people you know, respect, and love, whether it's online, on the phone, face-to-face, 6 feet, whatever it is, that will start to reduce your fear. Second thing, we've heard this so many times, I try to spend 10 to 15 minutes. I've got a little meditation app on my phone. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it works, it's great. I've used Headspace before. I think it's a fantastic resource just to quell the fears that are going on. Make sure a walk. Phil, you and I have our morning walks. Make sure we are walking. Just get a little exercise, blood pumping, blue sky and sunshine will prove to reduce some fear. But I would just say focus on what you can do today and not what you have to do next week, next month, next year. Focus on today because it has enough problems of its own.
Love that. Love focusing on today. It's so important, and that's a great place to leave it. Folks, if you want to overcome fear, you want to do more of this, you need a great sales trainer. You're looking for somebody really smart for your team. You know, you should definitely connect with Ryan. He's on LinkedIn at the Ryan McRae. He's the one and only, to me anyway, but there are likely other imposters, but he's the one that I enjoy. So you can get to know more about Ryan, more about his sales training, more about his Dungeons and Dragons wizardry just by connecting with him. So great guy. Our last tip here to connect with others, I'm going to give that to Chris here. Get a cool branded mask to humanize things. If that's your jam, absolutely. My boss actually sent us masks yesterday. We showed up with them on the team call yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
Which was hilarious because we got a bunch of senior folks that we took pictures with, and it was a lot of fun. So easy thing to do here, easy thing. So get connected with Ryan, get to know him more. Folks, if you're in fear, take the first step. Focus on today, just on what you control, and get connected with Ryan. Ryan, thanks so much for your time today. It was super fun to talk to you, as it always is. And thank you again for sharing your wisdom, brother.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.